does fate really exist, or is it just an illusion we create to make sense of life's events? How many times have you wondered if that special someone, who has somehow drifted away, is still connected to you in ways that go beyond logic? The truth is that throughout history, many brilliant minds have tried to understand the mysteries behind human connections. Among them, Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, left a powerful phrase: "If two souls are truly destined, they will always find their way back." But what does that really mean? Are there invisible forces guiding our encounters and reunions? Or is it all just a coincidence? In this video, we'll explore this fascinating idea in depth. You'll discover how the concept of synchronicity may be influencing your life without you even realizing it, understand the signals the universe may be sending, and most importantly, learn how to act on these mysterious connections. So, if you've ever gone through that experience of feeling that someone had a special role in your life, and somehow fate separated them, stay until the end, because this video can change your view on love, relationships, and even your own path. Before we start, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell, because here we talk about the mysteries of life, the universe, and the connections that really matter. Now, get ready, because what you're going to discover may make a lot more sense than you think. Since ancient times, humanity has sought answers to the mysteries of the connections between people. What causes two souls to meet? Why, even after long periods of separation, do some people simply return to our lives as if they had never left? Is it just a coincidence, or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes in the universe? Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist and thinker, believed that nothing happened by chance. He developed the concept of synchronicity, which suggests that certain events are interconnected in a meaningful way, even though there is no logical and direct explanation for these connections. According to this idea, when two souls are destined to meet, the universe creates perfect circumstances for this to happen, regardless of the difficulties or the time that passes. Think about the times when you crossed paths with someone special without planning. Maybe you bumped into a person you hadn't seen in years in an unexpected place. Perhaps you dreamed about someone from the past, and shortly after, that person got in touch. Small signs, curious situations, and even inexplicable feelings can be manifestations of this phenomenon. But are all connections the result of this invisible force? Not always. Sometimes we confuse attachment with destiny, insist on stories that have already fulfilled their role, and try to revive relationships that have actually been closed to make room for something new. The big question is not only to understand if two souls are destined, but to learn to interpret the signs that differentiate a meaningful reunion from a cycle that needs to be closed. Life is full of encounters and mismatches, and some people enter our journey to teach, transform, or awaken something within us. Others, however, seem to be linked to an invisible thread that, no matter how far it extends, always finds a way to reconnect. And it is at this point that many doubts arise: when to insist on a reunion and when to accept that a cycle has closed. How do you know if something is really part of destiny or if it's just a desire of the heart? If there's one thing synchronicity teaches us, it's that the universe has subtle, and sometimes surprising, ways of guiding us. But can we influence this process? Can we recognize and attract these truly destined connections? That's exactly what we're going to explore next. The idea that the universe conspires to unite destined souls may seem mystical, but there is more logic to it than meets the eye. The human brain, guided by patterns and meanings, is constantly looking for connections. But is there a way to recognize when a reunion is just the result of chance, or if it is something bigger, something that is really part of our journey? The first clue is in the feeling of familiarity. When two souls share a deep bond, even if they have spent years apart, there is an undeniable feeling of recognition. The dialogue flows naturally, the looks understand each other effortlessly, and there is a harmony that goes beyond words. It is as if time has not erased what has always been there. These meetings are usually accompanied by an intense sense of déjà vu, as if that moment had already been written in some way. Another striking feature is the way reunions happen. When something is destined, the paths align in surprising ways. You can cross paths with this person in the most unlikely places, receive news from them when you least expect them, or even feel their presence in thoughts and dreams even before any contact happens. These signs may seem subtle, but for those who are attentive, they are reminders that certain connections simply do not get lost in time. But fate alone is not enough. If two people really need to be together, it is not enough just for their paths to cross. It is necessary that both are prepared for this reunion. Often, the universe promotes meetings, but if one of the two has not yet learned the necessary lessons, the connection may not prosper. Individual growth is a determining factor for a destined relationship to truly flourish. And here comes one of the biggest difficulties: distinguishing between a genuine reunion and a repetitive cycle. There are times when we insist on something that should have already been left behind, confusing desire with destiny. A true connection brings evolution, peace, and mutual learning. A worn-out cycle, on the other hand, usually carries pain, frustration, and toxic patterns that repeat themselves. To understand the difference, it is essential to observe what this person awakens in you. Is there growth and balance, or just an illusion that the past can be recreated? If two souls are truly destined, they will always find a way to meet again, but that doesn't mean that every reunion is a sign to start over. The key is to recognize the right signs, understand the evolution process itself, and be ready to live this connection fully. But what if, instead of just waiting for fate, there was a way to prepare for these reunions and increase the chances of them happening? If the universe really does guide us, can we learn to better interpret the signals and even attract these connections? This leads us to an even deeper question, which can completely change the way we see destiny and life's encounters. If fate really acts behind the scenes of life, can we influence this process? Can we accelerate the reunion with someone we feel is an essential part of our journey? The answer to this lies less in control and more in tune. The more aligned we are with who we really are and what we need to experience, the more naturally these connections happen. It all starts with self-knowledge. The universe does not unite people just by the desire to be together, but by what they have to teach and learn from each other. If you feel like there's a destined reunion on your way, the best thing you can do is not wait, but rather grow. The more you evolve, the more prepared you will be to recognize and live this connection in a healthy and meaningful way. This means looking inward and identifying patterns that may be impeding this natural flow. Fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs can be invisible obstacles that keep the right opportunities away. Many times, we want to meet someone again, but we carry within us the same fear of abandonment, the same difficulty in communication, or the same traumas of the past. What would happen if this reunion took place today? Would you really be ready to live it to the best of it? In addition, there is the power of intention. When we are aware of what we want and vibrate at that frequency, we attract situations that bring us closer to that purpose. It is not about magic or waiting for signs to fall from the sky, but about acting with clarity and coherence. If you want to meet someone again, ask yourself, what are the actions that can open this path? Often, small attitudes, such as resuming old contacts, being present in certain environments, or even changing behavior patterns, can make all the difference. Synchronicity also manifests itself through signals that the universe sends us. Recurring dreams, songs that come at the right time, casual conversations that bring that person's name to the surface, all of these elements can be clues. But more than just waiting for these signs, it is essential to be attentive to understand them and act when necessary. Destiny opens doors, but we are the ones who decide to cross them. Another fundamental factor is detachment from the result. Paradoxically, the more obsessed we become with a reunion, the more difficult it can become. This is because anxiety and excessive expectation create blockages that take away the naturalness of the process. The secret is to trust. If this person really is part of your path, life will find ways to align them at the right time. If not, it means there's something even bigger in store for you. This trust in the flow of life can seem difficult, especially when the desire for a reunion is intense. But the truth is that the universe never makes mistakes in its movements. He always brings what we need, even if, at first, we can't understand it. And often, the biggest connections we experience are not the ones we plan, but those that happen unexpectedly, at the exact moment we are ready to receive them. And it is precisely this unpredictability of the destination that makes it so fascinating. But what happens when, despite all the signs, a reunion just doesn't happen? Does this mean that the connection was never real? Or are there deeper reasons for certain souls to cross paths, only to go their separate ways? Let's explore this question below. As much as the idea of destined reunions is comforting, the truth is that not all connections were made to last. Some people come into our lives with a specific purpose, and once that purpose is fulfilled, they move on. This does not mean that the connection was not real, but rather that its time and meaning were tied to a specific moment in the journey. It's hard to accept that certain reunions just don't happen, especially when we feel like that person should be by our side. But the universe does not work with desires, but with evolution. If a reunion has not taken place, it may mean that one or both parties are not ready yet. It may be that an important learning has not yet been assimilated, or that different paths need to be taken before there is a new opportunity to cross them. And there's something even deeper about it. Not every intense connection is synonymous with destiny. Some relationships, no matter how striking they are just mirrors of what we need to see in ourselves. They appear to teach us valuable lessons, provoke growth, and even challenge beliefs we carry. But that doesn't mean they're destined to stay. Sometimes the greatest act of love we can have for someone is to let them go their way and follow ours. This is one of the greatest human difficulties. Letting go of control and trusting that, even when something seems to make no sense, there is a greater reason behind each mismatch. Attachment to the past can make us believe that a reunion needs to happen at any cost, when in reality, the real learning may lie in accepting that not everything needs to be revived. But how do you know when to insist and when to let go? The first step is to observe what this connection awakens in you. Does it strengthen you or keep you stuck in the past? Is there mutual growth or just the repetition of the same patterns? Relationships that are part of the destination usually bring lightness, evolution, and learning. Those that belong to the past, on the other hand, usually carry frustration, unmet expectations, and a cycle of feelings that seem to have no end. This does not mean that impossible reunions are definitive. Time has a peculiar way of rearranging things, and often, what seemed closed can, in the future, find a new path. But this resumption does not happen because it was forced, but because circumstances have changed naturally. And it is precisely this idea that leads us to an even deeper reflection. Instead of being stuck waiting for someone, what if we focused on building a life so full that, if a reunion really happens, it will only be a complement and not a necessity? True destiny is not about depending on someone else to feel complete, but rather about being so aligned with yourself that when a genuine connection emerges or resurfaces, it will be lived in its entirety and without strings attached. In the end, destiny is not just about reunions. It talks about being in the right place at the right time and in the most prepared version of yourself to recognize and live these connections in the way they truly deserve. But is there a practical way to achieve this state of alignment and allow what is truly ours to find us? This is the final key to understanding how fate works and what we can do to be ready for it. If there is a way to be ready for the reunions that destiny has in store, it starts with a fundamental principle: alignment with who we really are. The universe does not respond to passive waiting or intense desire for something to happen. It responds to the frequency we emit, the energy we cultivate, and the way we position ourselves in life. The more aligned we are with our truth, the more naturally the right encounters happen. But what does it mean, in practice, to be aligned? This involves several aspects, and the first of them is self-knowledge. Before you want to meet someone again, ask yourself, have you found yourself again? Often, we look to the other for answers to questions that can only be solved internally. We want a reunion to bring us the peace that we have not yet found alone. But any relationship, however destined, can only flourish if both parties are complete in themselves. This brings us to another essential point: the energy we carry. If we cultivate a state of neediness, attachment to the past, or fear of loneliness, we are likely to attract situations that reinforce these feelings, rather than creating genuine, healthy connections. Change starts within us. When we become the best version of ourselves, we start to attract people who are on the same wavelength, and that includes reunions that really make sense. Another important factor is the openness to new possibilities. Too often, we get so caught up in the idea that a reunion needs to happen that we don't realize the incredible opportunities that arise around us. Life is always offering us new connections, new experiences, and even new loves that can completely transform our journey. But to see them, you have to be willing to let go of what no longer makes sense. This does not mean giving up on a reunion that we feel is true, but rather trusting that, if it is to happen, it will happen naturally, without the need for obsession or despair. Acceptance of the flow of life is one of the greatest demonstrations of emotional maturity. When we stop trying to force fate, we allow it to act in the best way possible. And there's something even more powerful about it. By focusing on our personal growth and well-being, we become the exact version of who we need to be so that everything that is truly ours can find us. Whether it's a reunion with someone special or a new connection that we didn't even imagine existed, it all starts at the same point: being good with yourself. In the end, fate is not a force that acts apart from us. It is shaped by the choices we make, the energy we cultivate, and the path we walk. Some connections are indeed written in the stars, but it is up to us to be ready to recognize them and live them in the best possible way. And so, we come to the final question. When we accept the flow of life and become the best version of ourselves, what really awaits us? If two souls are destined, they will always find their way back. But perhaps this return journey will be very different from what we imagine. Destiny, contrary to what many imagine, is not a straight line that takes us exactly where we want to be. It is a tangle of possibilities, choices, moments that intersect and dismeet to form what we really need to live. If two souls are truly destined, they will find a way back, but that way may be different from what we expected. Throughout this script, we explore how human connections are guided by forces that we often fail to explain rationally. We talk about synchronicity, about the signs that life gives us, and about how the reunion with someone can be a fundamental piece in our growth process. However, we have come to an essential conclusion. More important than waiting for fate is to be ready for it. The true essence of the reunion is not just in the other person, but in what each one has become along the way. Relationships that are guided by destiny do not happen by chance, but they also do not stand the test of time if those who are part of them are not prepared to live them fully. The most valuable lesson we can take from all of this is that the best way to allow a reunion to happen is to keep evolving, trusting that life always gets us where we really need to be. This means letting go of control, making room for new possibilities, and, above all, understanding that destiny never deprives us of what is truly ours. If a connection is part of your path, it will find a way to manifest at the right time. If not, this should not be seen as a loss, but as a release, a sign that something even greater is in store for you. Life is a constant flux, and those who trust that flux the most are the ones who experience the most meaningful and unexpected encounters. When we stop fighting against time and against the designs of life, we begin to see the present more clearly. And, ironically, it is precisely when we feel complete by ourselves that the truest encounters happen, whether they are with someone from the past, with a new person, or, most important of all, with our own essence. If there is one certainty in all this, it is that nothing that is truly yours will be lost. What is real will remain. Whatever needs to come back will find its way back. And what no longer makes sense will make room for something even grander. Destiny is wise, and the best way to live it is to trust that it will always get us where we really need to be. Now, I want to know from you. Have you ever had the feeling that a reunion was written in the stars? Do you believe that fate really unites those who should be together? Share your experience in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you in the next video.